So, we hear the word intersectionality thrown around constantly, right? Usually it's framed as just a sociological concept or maybe, a buzzword on social media. But there is a massive difference between a concept you debate in a university seminar and a strict legal mandate that can actually overturn a court ruling.
Yeah, absolutely. As of a major decision published literally just yesterday, Friday, February 20th, 2026, we are actually looking at the latter.
Right, so we have this specific legal thesis from the Seminario Judicial de la Federación. And for this deep dive, our mission is to unpack a ruling from the Eighth Collegiate Tribunal in criminal matters of the First Circuit. Basically, we want to see how the justice system is evolving to protect vulnerable people by looking at the whole person, not just the paperwork.
Exactly. It's a significant shift. The thesis essentially tells judges that if you ignore the overlapping realities of a person's life, you are breaking the law.
Let's get right into the story behind this because, well, it starts pretty grimly. We've got an elderly person trying to defend their rights against the government, and they filed for what's known as an amparo in directo.
Right. An amparo. Think of an amparo as a sort of constitutional shield. It's a very specific lawsuit in the Mexican legal system designed to protect citizens when authorities overstep. And in this case, the lower court initially flagged the situation as urgent.
Because of the petitioner's age, right?
Yes, exactly. But then the system seemingly turned its back on them. The lawsuit didn't just stall, it was completely dismissed.
Ah, a sobrasemiento.
Correct. Basically, case closed.
But why would the court drop it so quickly if they already knew the person was vulnerable?
Well, this is where the lower court got stuck in strict procedure. The authorities simply denied the acts they were accused of. So, in a standard legal battle, the burden of proof then falls on the accuser.
If you say the government hurt you and they say they didn't, you have to bring the receipt.
Exactly. Since this elderly person didn't provide that evidence, the judge just applied the standard rule book and threw the case out.
I mean, that sounds logical on paper. If you can't prove your case, you lose.
It is logical, but only if you assume every single citizen has the exact same capacity to gather evidence and navigate a courtroom, and that assumption totally collapsed here.
Because of the twist, the lower court completely missed a crucial detail in the file. The petitioner had actually submitted a document proving they had diminished visual and auditory capacity.
Yes, the judge treated them like any other litigant, and that is the core error here. The court failed to apply an intersectional perspective.
Wait, so they demanded this person provide complex legal evidence while they could barely see or hear what was going on?
Right. It isn't just about being old, and it isn't just about having a sensory disability. It is about how those two factors collided, intercepted, to make it functionally impossible for this person to access justice on their own.
So the appellate court stepped in and said, hold on a second.
They did. They ordered a reposición del procedimiento. They restarted the entire procedure. The ruling explicitly states that ignoring these vulnerability factors denies effective access to justice.
You simply cannot hold a blind, deaf, elderly person to the same procedural standards as a massive corporation or a completely healthy adult.
Exactly.
But how do you actually fix that on a practical level? Does the lower judge just promise to be more understanding next time?
No, the appellate court gave them a very specific mandatory checklist. First, they have to cancel the previous constitutional hearing. Second, officially recognize those vulnerability factors on the record.
Urge and disability.
Right. And third, they must proactively ask the petitioner if they want a lawyer appointed for them to help prove their case.
That feels like a massive pivot. Usually you have to know you need a lawyer, go out and find one, or at least formally request a public defender.
It is a huge pivot. It sets a precedent where courts must proactively level the playing field when they spot these overlapping vulnerabilities. The judge has to transform from a passive referee into an active guarantor of fairness.
So it really sounds like we are moving away from simple equality, treating everyone exactly the same, and moving toward true equity, giving people what they actually need to participate.
That's the key takeaway. If the court spotted these issues, they are now legally obligated to ensure the person has the real, tangible tools to participate.
It stops being about checking procedural boxes and starts being about whether the person actually had a shot at justice.
It absolutely forces the system to look at reality, not just the rigid rulebook.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with a provocative thought. We are seeing the justice system being legally required to put on these intersectional glasses to ensure people don't fall through the cracks.
Which is groundbreaking.
It is, but think about your own life. What would happen if our banking systems or our healthcare providers were held to that exact same standard of proactive accommodation? If a bank had to notice your specific overlapping vulnerabilities and proactively help you navigate a system the way this court now has to help with a lawsuit, the world would look very different. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.